Everybody, thanks for watching. Now, this whole flat earth thing is something that, a lot of people have been asking me questions about, what's up with flat earth? Is it true? What's going on with it? Now, I tackled this whole flat earth thing about 8 years ago. And I started really digging into it because I was into World War II era and I was studying World War II hard, and I came across Admiral Byrd. And I'll get into Admiral Byrd later in the video. Now, the whole thing with flat earth is, a lot of this stuff fits. A lot of the information fits, it works, but there is a lot of things that, that don't work, that don't fit. And I got to give a shout out to everybody who has put out a video on flat earth, because the information is so mind blowing. And, once you start digging into it, it'll leave you, stuck, pondering for days. I mean, the implications it's amazing. But, since there is so many things that fit with the flat earth theory and so many things that go against it, it leads you to come up with alternative conclusions. And, that's basically what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to go through, flat earth theory. I'll give you my conclusion and I'll give you others, other people's conclusions as well. But it's something that you cannot ignore. You can't simply say these people are crazy. You have to really give the information a shot because it works in a lot of cases. And, you're going to see that in this video. Now, the whole reason why the flat earth theory gets a lot of, criticism and, people don't want to cut it no slack is because some of these people who put out the information are, kind of weirdos. And, they go so far south with it and they try to pass the whole thing off as, 100% proven fact. And that's something that you cannot do. It's a theory. Everything we're speaking about, it's a theory. It has not been proven. There's no way, we're going to know. So the people who try to pass this off as, fact, proof, as a proven thing, that's when it goes into that whole area of, this person is crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. And people normally discount, all of the information, or they don't go any further with the information because somebody in the beginning of their presentation says something like, God and flat earth and this is true and this is all real, instead of just sticking with the facts and saying that, this is a theory and this is the information I've come across. And that's something that you have to be careful with when you get into, any subject. You have to show what is proven fact. You can't speculate on every single thing and just say, because this makes sense, everything makes sense. And this is the reason why not enough people have jumped into flat earth and given it a chance, because you got too many weirdos out there who is trying to pass this off as 100% proven fact. And it's not, it's a theory. Everything is a theory. It's all, I'm not going to say hypothetical, per se. I'm going to say theory because, like I said, a lot of it makes sense. Now, first thing we need to do is take a look at this. We have all seen this image before. We have all seen video of the Earth. Now, the whole thing is we have never seen live video of Earth, from a wide shot, a wide angle. I'm talking about the astronauts, backed up far away from the planet, where they show us a wide shot of the entire planet. We have never seen that before. We have never seen them, take the camera and pan 180 or 360 degrees to show us what's behind the camera. We've never seen any shots to that effect at all. So, anybody who studies flat earth knows about this. So the thing is this, we know that there is no real pictures, no solid shots of the planet. The whole thing is the pictures of the earth that we have are all composites. They're all composite shots that have been pieced together by NASA, and enhanced. And NASA actually admits this on their website. Take a look. It says enhancements by Robert Simmons, ocean color, compositing, 3D globes, animation. This spectacular blue marble image is the most detailed true color image of the entire Earth to date. Using a collection of satellite-based observations, scientists and visualizers stitched together months of observations of the land surface, oceans, sea ice, and clouds into a seamless true color mosaic of every square kilometer of our planet. These images are freely available to educators, scientists, museums, and publics. I'm not going to read the whole entire thing. You can pause it and read the rest for yourself. But The whole thing is this. It's a composite shot that they enhance. Now, the whole thing is, you would think, why? Anybody who wants to take a picture of something, you stand back, you take a shot. I mean, that's the picture. If you have a true picture of the planet, what is all this? What is all this stuff that you need to form one solid shot of our planet? That whole thing is suspect right there. Now, some people believe that, of course, they cannot take a picture of the Earth because it's flat. But you have other people who believe that there is a dome over flat Earth. Now, that's something I'm going to get into later as well. Now, as I said, there are a lot of things that support the flat Earth theory. One of those things is the horizon. No matter how high up you go, when you're in a building, you could be on the 20th, 30th, 40th floor. When you look out the window, you see a straight horizon. Everything is straight. Everything looks flat. You don't see any curvature at all. And, that's obvious, of course, because we would build, a building on a flat surface. But if you're looking out at the sea level, at the water or the oceans, you should see a curvature. And we don't see one. You still see a flat, straight horizon. So if the Earth was curved, any ship that's traveling at the highest peak of the horizon line, every 6 miles that ship travels, it should dip 6 feet. And it should dip until the ship is no longer straight, until it's slanted and following the curvature of the Earth. But we don't see that. It stays straight. You can always see a straight horizon, and there is no curvature. There is no evidence of a curvature. You can see everything straight. Now, I was in the Navy for years, and I've been out to sea for months at a time, and I've never seen a curvature. I've never seen a dip. I never felt a dip. And it's something that you definitely have to look at as suspect, and it definitely gives validity to the whole flat Earth theory. Now, and of course, another thing is lighthouses. You got to think about that. Most lighthouses can be seen from at least 42 miles away, depending on how high above sea level they are built. But if the Earth is round, it would be impossible for you to see a lighthouse from 42 miles away or from further because of the curvature. If you're coming up over the horizon towards a lighthouse, the light will be obscure. You won't be able to see it because, of course, the water would block it. But that's not the case. You can see straight out. Anybody who has been up in a lighthouse, you can go to the top. You can look straight out at the horizon. You can see a straight, flat surface. There's nothing obscuring your vision. You can see as far as your eyes will allow you. When you look north, south, east, or west, it's completely flat, no curvature at all. The same thing is when you get into a plane. Anybody who has flown before, when the plane takes off, it takes off on a slant and it eventually straightens out. Now, if a plane takes off from here, if the Earth is round, it would have to continue on this slant, for miles before it straightens out. If it doesn't, it will eventually, crash. It will crash into the water or, to the ground because of the curvature. Now, you would think that once the plane takes off, because of the curvature, it would continue for a long time on this slant before it straightens out. But anybody who has flown knows once you take off, you're on that slant for probably 2, 3, maybe 4 minutes before the plane straightens out. If the Earth was round, that would be impossible because it would have to follow the curvature. Now, this is the map that flat earthers use. This is how they believe the continents are actually set up in relation to the planet. They believe that it's flat and this is what it looks like. And the map that we have been using for years is fraudulent. When you look at the UN logo, it looks exactly like the flat Earth map. And this is one of the reasons why they believe that it's true. Now, me personally, I honestly believe in the flat Earth map because I can tell you from experience. Now, I'm not actually saying I believe that the Earth is flat. I'm saying that I believe in this map because from experience, I can tell you when I flew here just recently from Sweden, we came in from the north of Canada. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to do this video, because I was like, it made me think. I told you 8 years ago, this stuff was stuck in my head, but I've never been to Sweden, before, this time, these years I've been over there. But when I came in from Sweden, we came in from Canada. Now, the pilot actually noted that. And that's one of the things that, kept me looking. And I was like, why are we coming in from Canada, from the north of Canada? When you look at a map, you would think that, direct route, and that's the quickest way to get from A to B, is a straight line. But when you look at the direct route, you would think that we would follow, this right here, this model, and go straight into JFK. And that's what I flew into. I flew into New York to JFK. But we came in from the north of Canada, and that just it messed with my head the whole trip. Now, most, big planes, passenger planes, have the screens on the back of the seats. And they'll show you the route from when you took off to where you land. And you can see the map. They have the GPS up there, and you can see the whole route that you travel. So I paid attention to this route. And sure enough, we came in from Canada. And I was like, well, wait a minute. That's weird. Why would we come in from Canada, from the north, to get into New York, to get into JFK? So, that was suspect. The same thing when I flew from Dubai to Thailand, and that made me recall that whole flight as well. I remember when we traveled from Dubai, and I remember expecting to see a lot of water. When you look at it on the map, again, you would think that straight shot from Dubai to Bangkok, Thailand, and you would think you would fly over a lot of water, fly completely over India, and before you get to Thailand. But we flew over so much land. It was daytime, as you can see in the pictures, that we flew over land most of the whole trip. And I noticed that because I had a window seat, and it was like, where's the water? And it was the one instance when we flew over the Persian Gulf that we had, you could see the water, but from then on, it was nothing but land. And then I noticed on the GPS that we was flying over Tibet. And I'm like, what the hell? How are we flying over Tibet? That was weird. And we end up, landing into Bangkok. But after that flight, the whole emotions of the whole flat earth thing, all of the information started coming back. And I was like, I got to put a video out on flat earth and start looking into it a little bit more because, it was suspect. But I definitely believe in that map. And I definitely believe that this is the way that the continents are actually structured. You got to remember, for thousands of years, people believed that the earth was flat. It wasn't until the 1500s when, the whole round earth thing came out. Now, and of course, just because a plane travels in a weird direction or takes a weird route doesn't mean that the earth is flat. It doesn't mean that this map is correct. But it does give validity to the flat earth argument. And that's what this whole thing is about. Taking the information, taking the facts, and comparing it to the flat earth theory and seeing what fits. And this is something that is definitely suspect because you would think with the cost of jet fuel that they would want to take, a direct shot or a direct route to a destination. And anybody who studies this whole flat earth theory, they know about the multiple connecting flights. Once you start going south of Europe or traveling from South America, it's a lot of connecting flights. And it's like, why all of these connecting flights when the quickest direction is a straight shot? Now, there's a lot of reasons why that could be, but it is highly suspect. Now, another thing that I always found weird when I was little was, the oceans. And when you look at a globe, you see all that blue. And I used to always ask that question every time. How is it that the water doesn't, fall? Or how is the water staying with the planet? It sounds absurd now, but, it's a legitimate question when you look at it. It's like, how is the water, staying with the planet? And they tell us gravity. Gravity flows towards the center of the earth, and the earth being round, no matter where you stand at, whatever way gravity is flowing is down. So since gravity is flowing towards the center, no matter where you stand at on the planet, that direction is going to be down. The center of the earth will be down. It makes sense. It sounds all well and good, but you would think that if that's true, if I was to, take this cup and, scoop out some ocean water, right? And, I have water. Now, if I turn this cup upside down, according to flat earth, it should stay in the cup because of gravity. But, that's not the case. No water falls out. I mean, water should fall, but that's not what they're telling us with the whole flat earth theory. You would expect water to be all over the place, but it's not. In my case, this is a thermal cup, so that's why no water didn't come out. It's only on the outside, not in the inside. I drank it all. But you would expect the water to fall all over the place, but we don't see that. Doesn't make sense. It's a weird thing. And they just tell us anything. They tell us anything, and we accept it. It makes sense. That's something to me that never made sense. It's just something that, I've done experiments on. I've looked at the data and the research, and I can never wrap my head around it. It sounds correct, but do we really know? We don't really know how this stuff works. It's just another thing that gives, validity to the whole flat earth thing. And about the earth spinning, around and around, that whole thing was basically destroyed. That whole theory was destroyed if you accept the whole Aries failure experiment. Take a look.
If a telescope is pointing at a star and both are stationary, then obviously the light comes straight into the telescope. In 1729, Bradley found that he had to tip his telescope forward very slightly to get a star in the center of his telescope. It was assumed that this was due to the motion of the Earth around the Sun. Let us assume that the telescope was moving at 5 miles an hour and had to be tipped 5 degrees. This 5-degree tipping, however, could equally be caused by the ether moving at 5 miles an hour, carrying the stars around the Earth. As we see here, the light would be coming in at the same angle, and the telescope would still have to be tipped 5 degrees. So tipping the telescope does not tell us whether it is the starlight moving or the telescope moving. However, there is a simple experiment that can determine whether it was the Earth that was moving or the ether and starlight. All that you had to do was record the tipping required for any particular star, then fill the telescope with water, which greatly slows down the speed of light in the telescope. So here is the moving telescope filled with water, tipped at 5 degrees, and you can see that the starlight does not now reach the eyepiece at the bottom. This is because the starlight moves much more slowly when passing through water. However, if the telescope is tipped further, say 10 degrees, then the starlight will then be visible again in the eyepiece. It has to be tipped further because the light is now slower when in the telescope. But if the starlight is going past the telescope at 5 miles an hour, then when it is filled with water, no further tipping is needed because the light is coming in at 5 degrees anyway. The starlight stays on the same path but is only traveling slower in the water. To recap, if it is the telescope that is moving, then when it is filled with water, it has to be tipped further to see the star. If the telescope is stationary and the starlight drifting past us, then it does not have to be tipped further. In 1871, George Biddle Airy, the Astronomer Royal, performed this experiment. This is a copy from his original report. You can see that the two readings are virtually identical. If it had been the telescope that was moving, Airy expected a figure of 30 seconds of arc. In fact, he only managed to read 0.8 seconds of arc difference. Bradley first discovered stellar aberration, and it is interesting that in his report, Airy mentions that it was now about 100 seconds of arc, and that it was still slowly diminishing. This indicates that the speed of light was still decreasing in measurable amounts when Airy performed his experiment in 1871. The result of Airy's experiment, known as Airy's failure, was that the telescope does not have to be tipped further. This proved that it was the incoming light that was moving past a stationary telescope fixed to the stationary Earth. What is interesting in his very brief report of only 4 pages is that not once did he refer to the astonishing results that the experiment proved, that the Earth was stationary.